Good morning, boys and girls, and welcome to reading class. We are going to be reading our Storytown book. It's our last official story in our Storytown series, and we are going to be on page 412. If you would get out your reading book and turn to page 412, we are going to be doing our Reader's Theater Voyage Across the Solar System. All right, so we will go over our vocabulary here. Says magnify, observe, generates, confirm, picturesque, and safeguard. So if you look at magnify is when you make it look larger than it actually is. Observe, so when you observe something, you watch it carefully to learn more about it. Generates, and I know we've gone over these multiple times through the week. To generate something is to produce it. Confirm, when you confirm something, you prove something is correct. Picturesque, so if you think of a picture, picturesque, something that is picturesque is pretty enough to be in a picture. And then our last one is safeguard. And when you safeguard something, you protect it and you guard it. So those are our vocabulary words that we've been talking about all week. So I'm sure you're very familiar with those. We have some reading fluency tips that we're going to use. So when you read a script, you read it aloud. You let your voice rise and fall as if you were speaking in a conversation. And you pay attention to the different kinds of punctuation. So if you see an exclamation point, you say something with excitement. If you see a period, it could be a command or it could just be a statement. And if you have a question mark, then you would raise your voice and have a different tone so people know you're asking a question. All right, so we're going to move on. We have some different parts in our story, Voyage Across the Solar System. So we have our characters, the captain, an engineer, a doctor, a first mate, scientist, crew member 1, and crew member 2. All right, so let's get started.
Captain, this is space log entry number 101. Engineer, we are the crew of the spaceship Explorer. Doctor, this is the record of our travels. First mate, we have started our journey back across the solar system, heading toward the sun. Captain, we're taking a close look at Pluto. For years, Pluto was thought to be the farthest planet from the sun. Now it is called a dwarf planet.
So hopefully you've turned the page. And we are back up on page 414.
First mate, our ship is powered by sunlight. You can barely see the sun this far out in the solar system, so we don't have a lot of power here. Scientist, I have been studying how much light gets to this part of the solar system. After a thorough investigation, I find that there is less light energy here than there is on Earth. Doctor, it really is dark out here. Captain, we have seen Pluto's largest moon, Charon, crew member 1. Captain, why is so little known about Pluto? Don't scientists use telescopes to magnify views? Captain, it is difficult to study Pluto because it is far from Earth. Even with powerful telescopes, the images of Pluto are grainy and fuzzy. Crew member 2. We must be the first humans to fly this close to Pluto. Doctor. That's correct. Exciting, isn't it? Everyone. Oh, yes. Fluency tip. Pay attention to punctuation, such as commas, as you read. They can be clues for you to take a short pause.
And we'll turn to the next page.
Space log entry number 102. Setting. Aboard the Spaceship Explorer, orbiting the planet Uranus. Captain. This is space log entry number 102. We passed Neptune on our way to Uranus. Engineer. Now that we are closer to the sun, we can collect more solar energy, so we are going faster. First mate. A scientist named Galileo first observed Neptune in 1613, but he didn't know it was a planet. Scientist. Neptune is not solid like Earth. It is a giant blue ball of swirling gases.
Okay, so let's think about a couple of things here. So who is Galileo? So you want to go back into your story and see Galileo was a scientist who first observed Neptune in 1613, but he didn't know it was a planet then. And then how are Neptune and Earth alike, and how are they different? So one way that they're alike is they're both planets in the solar system. How they're different is Neptune is not solid like Earth. It's a giant blue ball of swirling gases, whereas Earth has water and land. All right, so we're going to turn the page, and we're going to look at first mate.
First mate. We actually landed on one of Neptune's moons. This moon is very close to the planet and is covered with craters. Captain. Now we are orbiting the planet Uranus. It is between Neptune and Saturn. The sun still looks tiny. Doctor. The sun is more than 1 billion miles from us. Engineer. Now we will head towards Saturn on our way to the biggest planet, Jupiter.
Okay, so before we leave this page right here, I wanted to ask, why do you think Saturn's, so we're right here in this area here, why do we think that Saturn's rings of ice don't melt? So if you think about it, we're orbiting the planet Uranus and then between Neptune and Saturn. So the sun is really tiny. It still looks really tiny. So why do you think those icy rings don't melt? Would be because it's so far from the sun. So if we'll turn the page, please.
Captain.
Oops.
We got
Sorry.
free, though. Space log entry number 103. Setting. Aboard the Spaceship Explorer on Io. Captain. This is space log entry number 103. We have just managed to pass through the rings of Saturn. Engineer. We tried to land on Titan, Saturn's gigantic moon, but we got stuck in one of the rings. The pieces of ice that make up the rings were a nuisance. Captain, we got free though, and now we're landing near one of the many volcanoes on Io. one of Jupiter's more than 60 moons. Doctor: It must be very, very hot on the surface. Look at all of those volcanoes. Crew member 2: What causes all of this volcanic heat? Scientist: We believe it is because Io actually wobbles a little as it orbits Jupiter. The wobbling generates heat. This is similar to what happens when you bend a wire coat hanger back and forth. The coat hanger starts to get hot near the bend. Crew member 1: So the wobbling makes Io hot, and that makes the volcanoes erupt. Scientist: That's what we think. Engineer: Now we are only 484 million miles from the sun. We are getting more energy from the sun, so we can move a little faster. Soon we'll be landing on Mars.
Okay, so let's go back and find out. Let's look to see what we think causes Io to have so many volcanic, what causes the moon to have so much volcanic activity. So if we go back and we look, it says we believe it is because Io actually wobbles a little as it orbits Jupiter. That wobbling generates heat. That's similar to what happens when you bend a wire. When you bend a wire back and forth, you can feel the heat on the bend. And so the wobbling makes Io hot, and that makes the volcanoes erupt. Fascinating. Let's keep going. We'll move on to the next page.
Space log, entry number 104. Setting: Aboard the Spaceship Explorer on the planet Mars. Captain: This is Space log, entry number 104. We have landed on the red planet, Mars. Doctor: The surface looks as if it has rivers and oceans. Scientist: It might have had them at one time, but Mars is dry now. Crew member 1: Isn't there ice on Mars, though? Scientist: Yes, there are ice caps at the poles, just as there are on Earth. They're made of frozen water and other materials. It is very likely that there was water once on parts of Mars, but that was many millions, if not billions, of years ago. Solid water is the only form of water that scientists can confirm at this time. Doctor: Where are all the Martians? I hope they are friendly and social. Captain: I don't think we'll be meeting any Martians.
Okay, so before we move on, let's look back and what kind of water is found on Mars? So if you go back, you'll see that they found ice caps, and then solid water is the only form of water that they confirm at this time. So now we're getting into some Martians. All right, so we are on page 419. And I'm going to be asking, why does crew member 2 think there are Martians on Mars?
Crew member 2: I wouldn't be so sure of that. Look, over there. What is that object on the surface? First mate: Oh, that's just one of the Mars exploration rovers sent from Earth in 2004. It was designed to run on solar energy, like our spaceship Explorer. Engineer: Which reminds me, We're close enough to the sun that we can get back to Earth easily. Doctor, let's go.
So you can tell that he thinks that there's a Martian on Mars because he mistook the Mars exploration rover as something else. All right, we will continue on.
Space log, entry number 105. Setting. Aboard the Spaceship Explorer, zooming past Earth. Captain. This is space log, entry number 105. We have decided not to stop on Earth. The crew of the Explorer wants to explore our solar system some more. We are heading toward the next planet, Venus. Doctor, Earth really looks beautiful from space. Crew member 1. With this telescope, I think I can see your home, Doc. Doctor, oh, how I miss my home. First mate, don't worry, Doc. We'll get you there soon.
So make a prediction now using the clues. Do you think they're going to go straight back to Earth, or do you think they're going to take a detour and wait to go home? Hopefully you see that they're zooming past Earth. And don't worry, we'll get there soon. So they're going to go out and they are going to be headed towards their next planet, Venus, and go right past Earth. All right, turn the page.
Engineer, in the meantime, I'm going on a spacewalk outside the ship. I have to fix some of the solar panels on the Explorer. Does anyone want to put on a spacesuit and come along? Doctor, I'll go with you. First mate, you'll have a picturesque view of Earth's oceans from out there. More than half of Earth is covered by water. Scientist, Earth is the only planet with all three forms of water: solid, liquid, and gas. Crew member 2. What is the big, spiraling white thing near North America? First mate. That looks like a big storm system over the Atlantic Ocean. Scientist. You're right. Clouds that spiral could mean a tropical storm or even a hurricane. Fluency tip. Think about how the 3 different kinds of punctuation in this section can help you read these sentences aloud.
So my question is to you, how are Mars and Earth alike and how are they different? Well, they're alike because they are both in the solar system. They are planets in the solar system. But they're different because Earth has water in 3 forms: a solid, liquid, and gas. And we learned that Mars just has solid water. We're going to move on to our next page. And we are at the space log entry number 106.
Space log entry number 106. Setting. Aboard the Spaceship Explorer, soaring toward Mercury. Captain, this is space log entry number 106. The Explorer has just passed the planet Venus. It is getting very hot as we move toward Mercury, the last planet before the sun. Crew member 1. I was hoping that we could land the ship on the sun. Scientist. That would be impossible because the sun isn't solid. It's made up of burning gases. Besides, the sun is far, far too hot to go near.
And we know that the Earth is the perfect planet to live on because it's not too hot and it's not too cold. It's the perfect distance from the sun so that we have water, which then gives us life. Okay, so we're going to turn the page.
Captain, we won't be landing on Mercury either. It's too hot. Venus is also too hot to land on, but not just because it's so close to the sun. The surface of Venus is actually hotter than that of Mercury. Crew member 2. Why is that? Scientist. Venus's atmosphere traps the heat from the sun. Engineer. Captain, we're almost at Mercury, but the Explorer can't take much more heat. The ship isn't built with material strong enough to safeguard us against this heat. We'll burn up. First mate. No humans have ever flown this close to Mercury. Should we risk going farther? Captain. No, crew. Engineer is right. It's too dangerous. First mate, turn the ship around and set a steady course for planet Earth. Doctor. Hooray! We're homeward bound.
All right, I hope you enjoyed your Reader's Theater. Please take the time, give some of your family members parts of the story, have them be the space crew, have them be the captain, scientist, the first mate. Make sure as you read your Reader's Theater that you're paying attention to the punctuation and the fluency. You're reading with expression, using all the different things that you know about questions, commands, exclamation points, and have a great time doing your Reader's Theater because I know it's one of the things you enjoy every fifth week. All right, take care and enjoy your afternoon.